C-Bus.
Well, welcome back. Next update on the retaining wall how-to series. We are done with our first level. You can see we've leveled and put all the blocks in. And now as you notice around the outside, as you get here, these blocks right here start to go below grade. So the last 2 or 3 blocks, say the last 2 blocks right there are below grade, so you won't see those at all when it's finished. However, use those for a base for the second row. But all these have been tamped, leveled, and placed individually. Next thing we're doing is we've come around this way and we've backfilled the rest of the trench, and you can see we've packed it once or twice already, and we've leveled it up to about 2 inches or so from where the other block sits. Now what we're going to do is our final grade. So we're going to add this final 2 inches right here, and we'll build it right up to the level of the top of this first tier. Then we'll pack all the gravel from here around, and that'll let this second block be buried slightly right over here, just at the bottom to retain it. Then after we have all this tamped and leveled, we'll be ready to run our second row all the way around. And we'll do the same thing on this side to finish it up. Some progress. We have the whole base layer done, and now we've also backfilled the second layer, so we've got the base prepared for the second layer. We're about to add blocks for our second layer and wrap it around. So let me show you what we're working with. You can see I already showed you the base layer, or the initial layer, but now we've got base material, and we're even height here with base material with the top of the first base layer of blocks. So now our second course of blocks will run across the top of these, and then it'll go right over top of the gravel on the second layer. So basically these blocks here are submerged. The second course of blocks will come over and it'll become the base layer for this layer, and then we'll step up one more, and the third layer, the third course on our retaining wall, will just be solid blocks stacked on top. So the first thing we need to do when we get ready to stack these on is we're going to find our center point around the radius, which is right here. I've also marked this block so that we can line up our center point with the center joint right there. These blocks are also made that you can put pins in here, and if you're building a tall wall that's something like 3 foot or more, you can actually put retaining pins to keep the weight from pushing the blocks out over time. In this situation, we're not going to use those. Other manufacturers, they'll have a different system where on the side of the block, on this back corner, there'll be like about a 1/2 inch little L-shaped lip. So when you stack this block onto the next one, it can't slide past or can't go forward from the other block. These don't have these. These blocks are made to make a straight vertical wall, where if you have the ones with the little lips on the back, then it has to have a setback of about a 1/2 inch each course. Your wall will come back about a 1/2 inch. So because we not going to use any pins or anything like that, I'm going to put one simple bead of landscape adhesive across before we stack our next blocks. So you want to use something like this. This is Titebond landscape retaining wall adhesive. So you'll use something like that. Basically, you clean the blocks off really well. Then I'll just put one bead with our caulking gun here. This industrial size tube, but you can use different tubes or whatever. But I'm just going to put one swirly bead across, and then we're going to stack the blocks on. So let's get to it. Get the block this way, and you want to lift it up in position like this. Carry it, set it straight down so that your so that the line I made right there will match. If you look close in here, as I sit that block on, I want to line up this line that I measured halfway through the block straight to that course, because this is our starter one. You'll eyeball the backs of them like this, and you take a peek to make sure that this corner here and this corner here are lining up with these two little wedge notches, and the center should be pretty much center. Now sometimes as you go around the radius, that joint will start to move over. It'll shift a little bit because the radiuses sometimes aren't exactly the same going up. In this situation, it should stay pretty close. Okay, so it's as easy as that. We just start stacking them on around the way. Now if your wall is good and level and you've been careful on your base layer, you'll find that your joints on your wall, where they meet up right here, are nice and straight. You'll see as we go around, they're nice and tight and straight right there. So you want to check to make sure that, you know, your backs are consistent around the outside. You really want to be careful that you don't get any pebbles like this on the wall. If you get any little pebbles, little tiny little pebbles on there, the block won't sit flat and it'll cause things to be a little off. But if you're doing it just right, these joints will be perfect up and down through there. Otherwise, you'll get a gap at the top or a gap at the bottom as the block leans side to side. So when you have a properly leveled wall, those joints will fit perfectly. So keep watching. We're going to get the rest of these blocks on. I'll give you the next update. All right, so next step in building your retaining wall. As you can see, we made some progress. After we got our base layer finished, we just continued to stack the retaining wall blocks on like you saw before. Now, as you get to the end of your retaining wall, you end up with something that looks like this. Where this bottom block is buried, your second course is here. We'll have one more course to finish our wall. The problem is here at the end of your wall, you're going to end up with an unfinished edge. So you'll see that as you look at the sides here, the edge is smooth. The rest of the wall has a split face. Also, in the second section of our wall that we're building over here, it's going to be right up against the driveway or the asphalt. So on this edge over here against the asphalt, we're going to want a rough or a split face on the wall so it matches the rest of the project. Let me show you how you get that accomplished, because if you just try to cut it or use a partner saw or something like that, you'll end up with a really smooth finish, and you don't want that because it'll look even smoother, or it'll look cut. It'll look even worse than the top does. So what you'll do is you'll take a block like this. I've already started on this. I forgot to video this when I started. But you're going to chisel right around the block all the way around. So what I did is I took a speed square and I found the center point of the block. I did like this. I marked it with my pencil and I marked it all the way around. Just like so. Now after I've got it marked all the way around, I just used a chisel and I started following that line. And I followed it all the way around the block several times with just a mini, like a 3 or 5 pound little sledgehammer. So when you're doing it, you don't want to hit it too hard because the face will crack and it'll be uneven. You want to hit it nice and evenly. You don't have to apply a lot of pressure either. So you want to make sure you wear safety glasses when you do this because little pieces of concrete fly. finished, you'll have two matching pieces, where now you have a corner that's faced. It looks almost just like the rest of your wall, same rough texture. So when you're ready to get started on splitting them, just work your way around with the chisel. You end up like this, just don't hurry, or you end up with large voids and an uneven split in the wall. You take your time, it'll be nice and even just like it is here. Okay, so here we are, we finished the retaining wall. After you followed our steps, hopefully you can build a garden wall that's going to turn out as good as this one does. Well, now you can see we've got all 4 courses on our wall. As I mentioned before, the customer decided not to do a cap, so we put a full block on the top instead of a cap. Normally, the cap, if you put a cap on here, it would only come to about this high instead of the full block. Now, since we did the perfect radius on this circle, there's almost no gap in the top of this wall, as you can see. And if you look at the wall, like I was mentioning earlier in the instructional video, you can see the gaps here line up almost perfectly straight. And you can tell right here they're nice and tight. There's no wobbling to the left or the right. You know, they don't split open at the top or the bottom. Everything's nice and consistent through the way. Now, when we built the wall, you saw us putting some blocks in place. There's some areas I didn't video all of us placing every block. However, in between the courses, the bottom to the second course and to the third course, we put 1 bead of glue in each one. And that's just to hold them from shifting. These blocks do weigh almost 80 pounds a piece, so they're not prone to shift to start with. I just wanted to be extra cautious like I always am. Now, this wall doesn't have a lot of weight that it's retaining. We did backfill it with, around the back, we put gravel in on our first 2 to 3 courses. We backfilled this whole wall with gravel. Then we put about 8 to 12 inches of topsoil on top of the gravel. That way we could plant some things. So we planted some daylilies along the back of the wall. So I showed you earlier in the project how you split the face of a block, where you can break one block in half in order to make a split face. And you end your walls with those. So you can see here the top course on our second wall that we built. Now on this side, instead of splitting 1, 2, 3, we split one at the end. This project, we came right down to almost the exact number of blocks we used, so I didn't have a lot of extra blocks to split. So in order to finish this up, probably tomorrow I'll go to the supplier. I'm going to buy corner blocks, would actually have the split face pre-made. Some manufacturers do this one, other manufacturers don't. In this instance, this block manufacturer does make a corner block, so it'll be nice for me. I have to buy about 6 of those to finish it off. However, if you're doing it by hand, or if the manufacturer doesn't offer the split face corner block, then you can make one like that. And then when you're done splitting it, it looks like this on the corner. So you have a split face that matches the split face over here. Then you can see we'll put some more split face blocks over on these corners to finish it up. 1, 2 of them there, and on the back side also. So thanks for watching the video on how to build your own decorative retaining wall. Hopefully it's helped. And when you're done with yours, hopefully it can be as nice as this one turned out. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.